Nazi human experimentation was a series of medical experiments on large number of prisoners, including children, by Nazi Germany in its concentration camps in the early to mid-1940s during World War II. They performed the studies without the consent of the victims, who suffered indescribable pain, mutilation, permanent disability, or in many cases, death as a result. There are two features of the Nazi period, which are the totalitarian political system and the broader paradigm of racial hygiene, which was not just the outcome of the Nazi governmental system, but rather a social movement that drew on conceptions produced by modern biological understandings. Its origins are more than 2 decades prior to the Nazi Party's founding. However, the authoritarian political system and the racial hygiene program complemented each other and led to unique medical concerns, as well as an environment with no ethical or legal standards. Those were the factors that led to unethical research, which was not supposed to happen. In addition, state and party institutions sought scientific validation for health and racial policies, such as the following enactment sterilization statute, to avoid genetically ill progeny. The rule allowed for the forcible sterilization of persons who were thought to have genetic abnormalities. Between 1933 and 1945, Nazi Germany began a mission to cleanse German society. According to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, the medical experimentations carried out by Nazis can be classified into 3 categories. First, experiments dealing with the survival of military personnel. Next, experiments to test drugs and treatments. Lastly, experiments to advance Nazi racial and ideological goals.
If we could turn back time, what could we change? Things wouldn't be so bad if principles of research ethics were established earlier before the Nazi event. After World War II, doctors' trials were conducted to judge 23 German doctors. Several doctors argued that there were no international laws or informal statements that addressed legal and illegal human experimentation. The doctors' trials have led to the establishment of the Nuremberg Code, a document of medical ethics that outlined 10 points, including the requirement of voluntary consent. If there were well-defined ethical standards on medical research prior to the Nazi event, the German doctors would not be allowed to make experiments on the prisoners recklessly. Nevertheless, nothing ventured, nothing gained. That was the first time people were charged with crimes against humanity. If there were no painful event like the Nazi human experimentation, research ethical standards would not be seen as an alarming issue. From the Nazi event, we learned that every human should be valued and treated equally in research. The Nazi human experimentation involved racial issues where the experimentation were carried out to advance the Nazi racial and ideological goals. Individuals that considered as a threat to the Nazi racial purity were excluded from the protection. Hence, some group of people like Jews, Roma, and others that were considered genetically undesired were used in human experimentation. In addition, the German doctors argued that the prisoners' permission were unnecessary as they were doomed to die anyway, and saying that the death of a few prisoners could save many lives of the military personnel. This is morally wrong, as every life should be valued equally despite their race and social status in medical research. The second lesson learned from the case is the importance of legal research standard. We could see that people have different moral standards. The German doctors face external influencing factors like political pressure, group identity, hierarchy placement, and power abuse that might have caused them to lose integrity and fail to balance their obligation towards state, community, and individuals. People may have different perspectives on ethical standard in research, whether it is ethical to use human as an experiment subject, to sacrifice a small number of people to yield greater benefits for society, and whether to obey the authority or to protect the prisoners. Hence, a well-defined research ethical standard is crucial to prevent vagueness in research ethics in order to protect life.